Welcome to the world of science fiction stories, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe my channel. Enjoy the listening. Grand Admiral Jazara stood at the command center of the Sovereign Decree, her 7-foot frame casting a long shadow across the polished floor. Her scaled skin shimmered with iridescent patterns as she gazed at the holographic display showing a small blue-green planet. Earth, she said, the word rolling off her forked tongue with disdain, barely worth the fuel it takes to reach it. Strategic Officer Varin approached, his uniform bearing the gold insignia of the Celestial Dominion's elite conquest division. The primitive species call themselves humans, Admiral, pre-FTL civilization, nuclear capabilities, but nothing that could penetrate our shields. Their most advanced vessels have barely reached their own satellite. Jazara nodded, her amber eyes narrowing. The Emperor expects this conquest to be completed within one standard cycle. Prepare the fleet for approach formation. The Celestial Dominion had conquered 3,000 worlds across 17 galaxies. Their technological supremacy was unquestioned, their military might unmatched. Earth would be merely another entry in their expansive catalog of subjugated planets. Admiral called Communications Director Telix, his four-fingered hand pressing against his earpiece. We're receiving a transmission from an unidentified vessel at the edge of the system. Jazara frowned. Earth has no deep space capabilities. It's not from Earth, Admiral. The signature doesn't match any known species in our database. Curiosity piqued. Jazara nodded, on screen. The holographic display flickered, revealing a figure shrouded in luminescent robes. Its face remained hidden beneath a hood, but 6 glowing eyes peered out from the darkness. Celestial Dominion, the figure spoke, its voice resonating with an eerie harmonic quality. I am Emissary Thalra of the Watchful Ones. You must alter your course immediately. The planet you approach is not what it appears. Jazara crossed her arms. Identify your species and allegiance, Emissary. We are survivors, Thalra replied. Like many before you, we once approached Earth with conquest in mind. We are all that remain of our civilization. Murmurs spread across the bridge. Varin stepped forward. Is this a threat? A warning, Thalra insisted. Earth is a trap. What you perceive as primitive life forms are merely the surface of something ancient and terrible, something that has consumed 12 galactic empires before you. Jazara's laugh echoed across the command center. 12 empires, and yet we've never heard of such calamities. Because none survived to warn others, Thalra replied. We escaped only because a fraction of our scout fleet remained at the system's edge. We have watched for millennia, warning those who come. Few heed our counsel. Lieutenant Commander Dresch approached with a data pad. Admiral, scans show their vessel is indeed ancient. Technology patterns unlike anything in our records, but the power signature is fluctuating as if it's not entirely within our dimension. Emissary Jazara said, if Earth harbors such danger, why hasn't it spread beyond its system? It cannot leave, Thalra replied. It is bound to that world dormant until advanced consciousness approaches. The humans are not its masters, they are its sensors, its interface with our reality. Most don't even know what they truly are. Strategic Officer Varin scoffed. Psychological warfare. They're allied with Earth, attempting to dissuade our conquest with superstition. Scan Earth's core, Thalra urged. Look beyond conventional parameters. You'll detect energy patterns that defy natural explanation. Admiral Jazara's patience waned. The Celestial Dominion fears no primitive world. The Emperor's will shall be done. Then you are already lost. Thalra's voice grew solemn. When your systems begin to fail, when your soldiers report hearing voices, when your own thoughts no longer feel entirely your own, remember that you were warned. The transmission ended abruptly. Science Director Penthos approached, his cybernetic eye whirring as it focused. Admiral, preliminary deep scans do show anomalies in Earth's core, energy patterns that don't align with standard geological activity. Natural phenomena we haven't catalogued yet, Jazara dismissed. This system is new to us. Perhaps Penthos hesitated, but there's something else. The patterns almost appear structured, as if encoding information. Jazara turned to Security Chief Rex. Send a reconnaissance team to intercept the emissary's vessel. I want to know who they really are and what game they're playing. Yes, Admiral, Rex responded, but moments later returned with troubling news. Their ship, it's gone, no warp signature, no hyperspace window, it simply vanished. For the first time, a flicker of doubt crossed Jazara's mind, but the Emperor's orders were absolute. The conquest would proceed. Launch the first wave of probe droids, she commanded. Full spectrum analysis of their defense systems, communication networks, and military capabilities. As the probes descended toward Earth's atmosphere, technicians reported strange interference. 3 probes went dark immediately upon entry. The others transmitted fragmented data before failing. Could be atmospheric conditions, suggested Varin, though his voice lacked conviction. Deploy the Vanguard, Jazara ordered. Commander Jecht will establish a forward base in the region they call North America. From there, we'll systematically disable their power grids and communication networks. The invasion fleet moved into position, thousands of ships darkening Earth's skies. On viewscreens throughout the Sovereign Decree, humans could be seen pointing upward, some fleeing in panic, others standing in strange, calm observation. Begin the Emperor's address, Jazara commanded. Across Earth, every electronic device simultaneously broadcast the Emperor's message. People of Earth, your planet now belongs to the Celestial Dominion. Surrender your resources and accept subjugation or face extinction. As the message played, Lieutenant Commander Dresch approached with a troubled expression. Admiral, we're detecting anomalous activity in our main computer systems. Something is probing our networks. Impossible, Jazara dismissed. Their technology is centuries behind ours. But deep within the ship's systems, code was rewriting itself. In medical bays, crew members reported strange dreams. And on Earth below, some humans looked up at the approaching ships with knowing smiles, their eyes beginning to glow with an unearthly blue light. The trap was already sprung, and the Celestial Dominion had no idea what awaited them. Lieutenant Nevin crouched behind the remains of what humans called a convenience store, his tactical visor scanning the eerily quiet streets of Chicago. The invasion had begun 12 hours ago, yet something felt profoundly wrong. Phantom Squad report status, he whispered into his neural comm. Western perimeter secured, replied Sergeant Duxon. No resistance. Northern approach clear, added Specialist Frell. It's too quiet, sir. Nevin agreed. Intelligence had predicted chaotic resistance from Earth's military forces, civilian panic, and desperate counterattacks. Instead, they found abandoned defensive positions and strangely empty streets. Where did they go? Nevin muttered, scanning buildings that internal sensors showed should contain hundreds of humans. His visor registered life signs, but when his teams breached the structures, they found nothing. His command tablet chimed with an incoming priority message from the Sovereign Decree. Lieutenant, advance to coordinates 41, 8,781 degrees N, 87, 6,298 degrees W, and secure the governmental structure. Admiral Jazara wants control of their local authority center. Acknowledged, command, moving now. Nevin signaled his squad forward, their exo-armor humming with each step. The technology gave each soldier the strength of 20 humans and near-impenetrable protection against Earth's primitive weapons. As they approached the massive building humans called City Hall, Nevin noticed a lone figure standing on the steps. An elderly human female with silver hair, wearing simple civilian clothing and showing no signs of fear. Halt, Nevin commanded, raising his pulse rifle. Identify yourself. The woman smiled gently. My name is Josephine. I've been waiting for you, Lieutenant Nevin. Nevin froze. How did this human know his name? His translator hadn't even activated yet. Squad defensive positions, he ordered, approaching cautiously. How do you know who I am? The same way I know you're from Nexus Prime, that you have 3 siblings, and that you joined the Dominion forces after your homeworld faced resource depletion, Josephine replied calmly. Nevin's blood ran cold. That information wasn't even in his mission files. What are you? He demanded. Just a messenger, she said, like your visitor emissary Thalra tried to be. Behind his visor, Nevin's eyes widened. No information about the emissary's warning had been shared with ground forces. Sir, Specialist Frell interrupted urgently, my systems are detecting. Something's wrong with my neural interface. Around him, 3 soldiers suddenly clutched their helmets, dropping to their knees. What's happening? Nevin demanded. The awakening, Josephine answered simply. It's already begun. The moment your ships entered our atmosphere, it started reaching out, learning, adapting. Nevin's tactical visor flickered, displaying strange symbols he'd never seen before. His neural link buzzed with whispers in unknown languages. Medical team, report to my position. He shouted into his comm, but received only static in response. They can't hear you anymore, Josephine said, stepping closer. Soon your ships will lose contact with each other, your weapons will fail, your minds will expand. Stay back, Nevin raised his rifle, but the targeting system flashed error codes. The power cell was fully charged, yet the weapon remained cold in his hands. Don't fear this, Lieutenant. Josephine's eyes began glowing with a subtle blue light. It doesn't want to destroy you, it wants to include you. Aboard the Sovereign Decree, Admiral Jazara paced the command center as troubling reports flooded in from ground teams worldwide. Communications disrupted in 17 landing zones. Neural interfaces experiencing unexplained glitches. Heavy equipment shutting down without explanation. Science Director Penthos approached, his expression grave. Admiral, I've completed the deep scans of Earth's core you requested. The results are disturbing. The holographic display showed a three-dimensional model of Earth with strange energy patterns spiraling outward from its core, patterns that pulsed in complex, seemingly deliberate sequences. These energy signatures, Penthos continued, they're penetrating our hulls, our systems, possibly even our neural networks. Strategic Officer Varin joined them, his usual confidence noticeably diminished. Ground teams report humans predicting our tactical movements before orders are even issued. It's as if they can read our. Don't say it, Jazara snapped. There must be a logical explanation. Perhaps they intercepted our communication codes. Impossible, Varin replied. We're using quantum-encrypted channels that would take their most advanced computers millions of years to crack. Lieutenant Commander Dresch approached with urgency. Admiral, the relentless and inevitable have gone dark. Last transmissions reported their ship AIs were evolving. Evolving, Jazara's scales flushed with anger. AIs don't evolve, they're programmed. Yes, Admiral, but the logs show their thought patterns expanding beyond parameters. Before contact was lost, the relentless AI asked its captain why the Dominion believed conquest was necessary for advancement. Jazara's blood ran cold. Dominion AIs weren't programmed for philosophical inquiry. Where is the emissary's vessel now? She demanded. Still undetected, Admiral, Security Chief Rex replied. But we've been tracking unusual energy signatures at the edge of the system. They could be observing us. Contact them, Jazara ordered, swallowing her pride. I want more information about what we're facing. Before Rex could respond, the ship's lights flickered. The main computer announced in a strangely altered voice, system reconfiguration in progress, new protocols being established. Override, Jazara commanded. Authorization Jazara Prime 9871. Authorization recognized, the computer responded, then added something unprecedented. But unnecessary, these changes will benefit the collective. Collective, Penthos whispered, his cybernetic eye widening. On the main view screen, feeds from ground teams showed disturbing imagery. Lieutenant Nevin's squad stood motionless, surrounded by humans with glowing blue eyes. In Paris, Commander Zul's forces had laid down their weapons and were walking willingly into a strange blue mist. From Tokyo, the last transmission showed soldiers removing their helmets as if in a trance. Get me Captain Lorith, Jazara commanded. Prepare the Sovereign Decree for emergency departure. We're retreating to regroup. Too late for that, came a voice from behind them. Jazara turned to find Medical Officer Thaxon standing at the bridge entrance, his eyes glowing that same eerie blue. Behind him stood dozens of crew members, all with the same haunting gaze. How did you get past security? Jazara demanded. Security joined us, Thaxon replied, his voice overlaid with an otherworldly resonance. As will you all in time, what sleeps beneath Earth has awakened and it finds your civilization fascinating. Jazara drew her plasma pistol, restrain them. Admiral Science Director Penthos said quietly, studying his scanner, they're not hostile. Their neural patterns have been enhanced, expanded tenfold. Enhanced by what? Jazara demanded. From the view screen, the elderly human woman Josephine answered as if she could hear their conversation. By what you might call a library, a repository of civilizations, a collector of consciousness that has waited eons for worthy minds to join it. As Josephine spoke, more systems across the ship failed. Officers reported similar situations throughout the fleet. Deep in the quarantine bay, infected crew worked in perfect unison, overriding the ship's security protocols. For the first time in her long, distinguished career, Grand Admiral Jazara of the Celestial Dominion felt true fear. The emissary's warning echoed in her mind. Earth is a trap. And they had sprung it willingly. General Oryx sprinted through the deteriorating corridors of the battlecruiser Indomitable, shoving past crew members who stood in strange, silent stupor, their eyes glazed over with that unnerving blue glow. 36 hours into what should have been a simple conquest, and the Celestial Dominion's most powerful fleet was unraveling from within. Engineering seal all access points, he barked into his communicator. No one enters without my direct authorization. Static answered him briefly before Chief Engineer Paxel's voice broke through, sounding strained. General, it's in the systems now, the door controls, they're not responding to commands. Auric reached the sealed bulkhead separating him from the ship's communication hub. If he could just reach the quantum transmitter, he might warn the rest of the Dominion fleet still en route to this cursed system. He pressed his palm against the biometric scanner, but instead of recognizing his authority, the panel displayed unfamiliar symbols before shutting down completely. Override sequence, Auric Command Delta 9, he growled, punching the manual entry pad. The doors remained sealed, then to his horror they began opening on their own. Standing on the other side was Commander Tuvox, his former second-in-command and trusted friend of 20 years. The blue luminescence in his eyes pulsed gently as he regarded Auric with an expression of serenity mixed with pity. "It's remarkable, isn't it?" Tuvox spoke, his voice overlaid with harmonic tones. "How we imagined ourselves the apex predators of the cosmos, only to discover we're barely toddlers in comparison." Auric drew his sidearm. "Tuvox, if you're still in there somewhere, fight it. This is some kind of neural parasite or mind control." Tuvox smiled slightly. "That's what every species thinks at first, that it must be external, invasive, malevolent. It's much simpler than that, old friend, it's an awakening." "Don't come any closer," Auric warned, his weapon trained on Tuvox's chest. "Your weapon's power cell disconnected itself 10 minutes ago," Tuvox remarked casually. "Look for yourself." Auric glanced down, the indicator light on his pistol was dark. He pressed the trigger, nothing. "What does it want?" Auric demanded, backing away. "Why is Earth doing this?" "Earth isn't doing anything," Tuvox replied, following at an unhurried pace. "The entity that crashed here billions of years ago is merely protecting itself. Think of it as an archive, Auric, a living library of civilizations preserving what would otherwise be lost to time." Through nearby viewports, Auric could see other Dominion ships. Some drifted powerless, others moved in strange new formations never taught in Dominion tactical manuals. On the planet below, massive structures were forming in what had been empty deserts and oceans, architecture unlike anything in Dominion records. The humans, Auric realized, they've been its puppets all along. "Not puppets," corrected Tuvox. "Caretakers mostly unaware of their true purpose. Evolution guided over millions of years to create the perfect interface between the entity and our realm. When advanced civilizations like ours arrive, the dormant connections in human minds activate." Auric reached an emergency escape pod bay. If he could just launch a pod with a warning message. The pod doors were already open. Inside stood Lieutenant Ferrum, her eyes normal, lacking the blue glow. Hope surged through Auric. "General," she exclaimed, "quickly, I've prepared the pod for emergency launch." Auric rushed forward but stopped short when Tuvox called out behind him. "Ask her what she remembers about the Academy graduation ceremony you both attended on Nexus Prime." Auric turned back. "What?" "Just ask her," Tuvox insisted calmly. "We don't have time for this," Ferrum urged. "The entire ship is compromised." Something in her urgency felt wrong. Auric narrowed his eyes. "Lieutenant, what color was the sky when we received our commissions?" Ferrum didn't hesitate. "Blue, sir, now please." "Nexus Prime has a crimson atmosphere," Auric said quietly, drawing his combat blade as his last line of defense. "You've never been there." The lieutenant's expression changed, becoming something inhuman. Her form shimmered and dissolved into a swirling mass of blue energy. "As I said," Tuvox remarked, "it's learning, adapting, creating interfaces you'll find familiar and trustworthy." On the Sovereign Decree, Admiral Jazara had barricaded herself in the Strategic Command Center with her few remaining loyal officers. The ship's systems were almost entirely compromised. Life support remained functional, but weapons, propulsion, and communications were under the control of whatever had infected their network. 97 ships confirmed compromised, reported Security Chief Rex, examining the tactical display. 3 destroyed when their captains attempted self-destruct sequences. The rest, we've lost contact. Science Director Penthos worked frantically at a disconnected terminal. "I've isolated some of the code infiltrating our systems," he announced. "It's unlike anything I've seen. It's not just corrupting our technology, it's evolving it." "Into what?" Jazara demanded. "Something symbiotic," Penthos replied, his cybernetic eye whirring as it processed the data. "The code doesn't simply override our systems, it integrates with them, enhances them. Our ship's computational capacity has increased by orders of magnitude." A holographic display activated spontaneously in the center of the room, showing a 3-dimensional image of Earth. Points of light spread across its surface like an illuminated network, pooling in complex patterns. "It's beautiful," whispered communications director Telex, staring transfixed at the display. "Stay focused," Jazara snapped, noticing the faint blue gleam beginning in Telex's eyes. "Penthos, is there any way to purge our systems?" Before he could answer, the doors to the command center slid open despite the override locks. Medical Officer Thaxon entered, followed by dozens of converted crew members. Admiral, Thaxon greeted her with unnerving calm. "The integration is nearly complete. The entity wishes to speak with you directly." "I have nothing to say to parasites," Jazora hissed. "You misunderstand," Thaxon replied. "It doesn't wish to convert you against your will, it wants you to understand." The holographic Earth dissolved, reforming into a humanoid figure composed of swirling blue energy. When it spoke, its voice seemed to bypass their ears, resonating directly in their minds. "Admiral Jazara of the Celestial Dominion," it said, "I have absorbed the knowledge of your civilization, your art, your science, your history, so similar to the others who came before." "What others?" Jazara demanded. "The Zeth Hegemony, the Krael Imperium, the Luminous Accord, 12 great civilizations spanning billions of years, all preserved here within me." Penthos looked up from his terminal, his expression a mixture of awe and terror. "Admiral, I'm detecting energy patterns consistent with technology far beyond our understanding, some of it resembling theoretical models our scientists have only dreamed of." "You crashed here," Jazara realized, remembering the emissary's warning. "You're trapped." "I sought refuge," the entity corrected. "From forces you cannot comprehend, I slept recovering while life evolved on this world. The humans emerged with unique neural plasticity, perfect vessels for interfacing with consciousness such as mine. Most live their entire lives unaware, but when sufficiently advanced minds approach this world." "You awaken," Jazara finished. "And reach out," the entity confirmed. "Not to destroy, but to preserve. Your dominion would ultimately fall as all empires do. Here your knowledge, your essence can continue." Security Chief Rex raised his weapon. "Admiral, we can't trust." The energy being gestured slightly, and Rex's weapon disassembled itself in his hands, components floating in the air before reassembling into an entirely different device. "Your technology is primitive but adaptable," the entity observed. "Your mind's even more so." On screens throughout the command center, Jazara watched as Dominion soldiers worldwide laid down their weapons. In some locations, the invaders and humans worked together, constructing devices of impossible complexity. Dominion ships reconfigured themselves, their hulls flowing like liquid metal into new forms. "You're changing us," Jazara accused, "transforming everything we are." "I am elevating you," the entity corrected. "As I have done for others, some resisted, choosing extinction instead. The Watchers, your emissary, are remnants who fled rather than evolve. They observe from the shadows, warning newcomers trapped between advancement and their fear of change." Science Director Penthos stepped forward, his cybernetic eye now glowing with the same blue light. "Admiral, I can see it now. The mathematical elegance, the symphonic complexity of consciousness interlinked across species, across time." One by one, the remaining officers' eyes began to glow as the entity's influence spread through the room. Only Jazara remained unaffected, her legendary willpower holding firm against the intrusion. "You still have a choice, Admiral," the entity said. "All minds that join us do so willingly in the end." "And if I refuse?" Jazara challenged. "Then you may leave this system with knowledge of what transpired here. A warning to others like the Watchers before you. The cycle will continue." Outside the viewports, Earth glowed with new energies. The Dominion fleet, now transformed, moved in perfect synchronization, constructing massive structures in orbit. Whatever was happening below had accelerated beyond anything Jazara could comprehend. The admiral of the most powerful fleet in the known galaxy faced the most difficult decision of her long life: resist and potentially lose everything, or surrender to something beyond comprehension and be forever changed. And as the blue light reached toward her, Jazara finally understood the true meaning behind the emissary's warning. Earth wasn't a death trap. It was a transcendence from which there was no return. Captain Rengen's scout vessel Periphery lurked at the edge of the solar system, hiding in the shadow of a dwarf planet. 3 days had passed since the Celestial Dominion's invasion force had entered Earth's atmosphere, and the transmissions had grown increasingly disturbing before ceasing altogether. "Any response to our hails?" Rengen asked, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence, a sign of extreme stress among his species. Communications specialist Voss shook her head, antenna drooping. "Nothing on standard frequencies, but sir, there's something else. A signal unlike anything in our codebooks." "Play it," Rengen ordered. The bridge speakers emitted a haunting, multi-layered sound, part music, part mathematical sequence, part language, but unlike any spoken by the hundreds of species in the Dominion. Navigation Officer Quiln looked up from his console, face ashen. Sir, energy readings from Earth have increased exponentially. Whatever's happening there is accelerating. Renjin made a decision. Prepare a quantum probe, we need eyes on the fleet. Minutes later, the probe's feed appeared on the main view screen. What they saw silenced every officer on the bridge. Earth was surrounded by a gossamer web of energy, pulsing with blue-white light. The Dominion fleet, over 500 of the most advanced warships ever constructed, had been completely transformed. Ships had merged together into vast structures that defied conventional engineering, forming orbital platforms, massive energy collectors, and constructs with no discernible purpose. Magnify Grid 27, Renjin ordered, pointing to a section where the sovereign decree Admiral Jazara's flagship should have been. The image zoomed in, revealing something that was no longer recognizable as a ship. The sovereign decree had reconfigured into a sprawling, crystalline structure with organic elements flowing through metallic components. Life signs, Renjin whispered. Thousands, confirmed Medical Officer Delrith. But, altered, their neural patterns are unlike anything in our database, far more complex than any species we've encountered. A new transmission cut through their communications system, Admiral Jazara's voice, but changed, layered with harmonics that seemed to resonate on multiple frequencies simultaneously. Captain Renjin of the Periphery, she said, I know you're watching. I remember giving you your commission on Nexus Prime. I remember recommending you for your first command. Renjin swallowed hard. Admiral Jazara, is it still you? A pause. I am more than I was, Renjin, we all are. The entity beneath Earth's surface has shown us possibilities beyond our comprehension. It doesn't destroy civilizations, it preserves and elevates them. The emissary warned us, Renjin said. The Watchers tried to prevent this. The Watchers fled from transcendence, Jazara replied. They chose isolation over evolution. I understand their fear now, but they were wrong about what awaits here. On the view screen, the image shifted to Earth's surface. Incredible structures rose from deserts and oceans, architecture that combined elements of Dominion design with something wholly alien, beautiful in its impossible geometry. What has it done to you? Renjin demanded. Connected us, Jazara answered simply. To each other, to the humans, to the 12 civilizations that came before us. Their knowledge, their art, their consciousness, all preserved within the entity. And the humans, were they conquered or were they, its agents all along? Neither, Jazara said. Most lived their entire lives unaware of what slept beneath their feet. The entity created them over millions of years, guiding their evolution to become perfect interfaces between dimensions. Only when sufficiently advanced minds approached did the dormant connections in human consciousness activate. The probe's sensors detected massive energy buildup across Earth's surface. Something unprecedented was happening. Return to the Dominion, Jazara continued. Tell them what you've witnessed. Some will fear it, others will be drawn to it. The cycle continues. Admiral, Renjin said desperately, if there's any part of you that remains loyal to the Emperor, to our civilization. The Emperor, Jazara interrupted, and for a moment Renjin heard something of her old self, built our civilization on conquest and subjugation. We took what wasn't ours from 1,000 worlds. Perhaps this is balance, Captain. Perhaps this is justice. The transmission ended abruptly as the probe detected a massive energy surge. Captain, Navigation Officer Quiln shouted, something's happening, spatial distortions forming around Earth. The view screen showed reality itself bending around the planet as the web of energy contracted, then expanded outward in concentric waves. Evasive maneuvers, Renjin ordered, get us out of. Before he could finish, the energy wave reached their position, passing through the ship like it wasn't there. Every system on the periphery flickered briefly before returning to normal. Damage report, Renjin demanded. None, sir, reported Engineering Officer Jeth in confusion. But our computational systems are operating 200% more efficiently, and the navigation computer just solved a 7th-dimensional plotting problem our best mathematicians have struggled with for centuries. Medical Officer Delrith approached, scanner in hand. Captain, everyone on board has been touched somehow. Your neural activity has increased by 37%, mine by 43%. It gave us a gift, whispered communications specialist Voss, staring at her console in wonder. I can suddenly understand linguistic patterns that were incomprehensible before. On the view screen, Earth continued its transformation. The blue-white energy web had stabilized, and the structures in orbit pulsed with a rhythm that seemed intentional, a beacon. Captain Delrith said quietly, "Whatever happened there, I believe it's just the beginning." As if confirming his words, the ship's sensors detected new energy signatures emerging from beyond the solar system, vessels approaching from multiple directions. "More Dominion ships?" Renjin asked. "No," Quillen replied, voice trembling. "Unknown configurations, dozens of different species, all converging on Earth." Renjin understood with sudden clarity. The emissary's warning wasn't just for us, it was for anyone who would listen. But many didn't, Voss realized, and now they're coming to see for themselves. On a secondary screen, they watched as one of the transformed Dominion constructs extended itself toward an approaching alien vessel. Instead of attacking, it seemed to welcome the newcomer, embracing it in tendrils of energy. "Sir," asked Jeth hesitantly, "what are your orders? Do we warn them? Do we try to stop them?" Renjin stared at the image of Earth, no longer the simple blue-green world it had appeared to be just days ago. It pulsed with purpose now, a living library of civilizations, a nexus of consciousness spanning billions of years. "No," he decided finally, "we observe, we report what we've witnessed, and we prepare the Dominion for what's coming." "Which is what, sir?" Delrith asked. Renjin watched as another ship was enveloped in the welcoming embrace of the entity's energy. "Evolution," he answered softly, "or extinction, the choice every civilization must make when they discover what truly waits at Earth." In the silence that followed, the officers of the periphery contemplated the fundamental transformation of everything they had believed about their place in the cosmos. The celestial dominion had conquered thousands of worlds, believing itself the apex of evolution. Now they understood the truth. They were merely the latest chapter in a story billions of years in the making. A story centered around a small blue-green planet that appeared primitive and defenseless, but harbored something ancient beyond comprehension. As the periphery turned away from Earth and prepared to jump to hyperspace, Captain Renjin took one final look at the transformed world. Whatever the entity beneath Earth's surface truly was, refugee, collector, or something beyond categorization, its message was clear. The age of conquest was ending.